Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand, joining me as always over there in beautiful New York City. After week 5, his name is Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
Ty, I've been worse. Mentally, physically, spiritually. I've been worse. Emotionally. I got an okay night's sleep. I did the halftime thing, Ty, and you'll probably never have to face something like this unless Notre Dame and one of the West Coast teams they play is just unbearably bad, and even still people will watch it, so you'll probably never. Have you ever had to experience a Notre Dame game at like 10:30? Starting.
No, not really.
Okay, so you won't fully realize this with your own team, but I feel all right. I'm not great about my team, but I feel all right.
All right, physically, right?
Yeah, I have been in worse places. I'm drinking some tea. I got to see a couple of SEC teams play well. Woo! Ty, I was going positive with that. I didn't know where I was going to go. But Georgia, Auburn, and Alabama, heck yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been a morning of technical woes here.
Yeah.
I had a horrible video experience earlier with my phone cutting out from the park.
You went for a nature walk. It looked nice.
I went for a nature walk. I was borderline attacked by a goose, which I didn't get on video. That would have been the best part of the whole thing. But yeah, so that didn't work out well. I saw something that I don't know if I should be talking about this publicly, Dan. Mm-hmm. But I saw it, and it sort of bothered me.
Are you talking about Mississippi State's offense?
No, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
The Belk Bowl is stealing my game day bit on Twitter.
Really? Which one is that?
The game day with the 140 characters of game day, all caps.
Oh. Okay.
They stole my bit yesterday. They stole it early enough that they didn't think I'd see it before I woke up. But I saw it. It was like 7 a.m. Let me tell you something, Belk Bowl. I had the game day tweet going back when you were just a twinkle in the eye of the Meineke Car Care Bowl. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to week 5 reverbs. We did have somebody else, Ryan, a gentleman by the name of Ryan, did our reverbs for us this week because Taylor is quite literally out of the country and unable to...
Where is he?
Somewhere in Ecuador.
Good for him.
I saw he posted a picture from the actual equator, which is kind of cool.
I think people will eat guinea pigs in Ecuador, which they look pretty good.
I don't think that's why he went down there, but he may have left. We'll have to ask him.
He might be nibbling, though.
He could be. He could be sampling. Yeah. This is from our new friend, Ryan. He's listened to the show for a long time, just got in on the fun by doing the reverbs, did them lightning fast, and for you, it's about 5 minutes long. So a little bit longer, but let's start off where we always start off. Let's hear your week 5 reverbs.
Well, Ole Miss definitely has a chance to win this game against Bama. Here's the opening kickoff, and it's gone.
Hey, this is Ryan in Africa.
Hi, this is Jordan in Singapore.
Hey, guys. Justin from Tennessee here. Just a quick question. Is it possible to crock-pot yourself?
Which one of Tennessee points was your favorite? I think we just found out who Jake Superior is.
Checkered Neyland Stadium with smoky gray uniforms and honoring Peyton Manning did absolutely nothing to help Tennessee score a single point today. Boy, oh boy.
I'll speak on behalf of all of Yellow Jacket Nation when I say, how did we lose to this Tennessee team again?
Does anyone know if Chip Kelly's interested in coaching anymore? I'm asking for about 100,000 plus, my friend.
This is Robbie from Georgia, and I would just like to take a second to point out another dude alert. The entire Georgia defense.
Hey guys, Alex from Orange County. Pac-12 After Dark getting loose on the Palouse.
Hi, this is Mike in Portland, and as a Husky fan, I just realized that they may not have to play Sam Darnold ever again.
Maybe those Cougs are good for something.
Hey guys,
can we please stop talking about Sam Darnold for the Heisman? If you just took his name away from the stats, you'd be looking at Christian Hackenberg.
Hey, this is Chuck from Tuscaloosa. Not sure if you saw that Alabama game, but guess who just got murdered?
For this game, Alabama decided to forego the crock pot. It decided to use a flamethrower.
Crock-potting is a great term for Alabama, but how about the low country oil that Clemson brought to Virginia Tech?
I just walked out of Lane Stadium. It turns out
Clemson is elite. Virginia Tech is not.
All I gotta say is Saquon Barkley can do all the things. Give him that trophy already.
Just leaving the bar now a little drunk because I convinced myself to care about Iowa State, Texas.
Iowa State thinks they can. They think they can. They think they'll get stopped on 4th down again.
I'm watching this Florida State-Wake Forest game, and the score is tied 19-19. Ty, whatever you're doing, please, just stop. Just stop.
Hi, this is Brendan from Weathersfield, Connecticut, and I'd like to thank Florida State for pulling out the victory today, because I'm just not prepared to talk to my kids about an undefeated Wake Forest.
Why do Texas Tech uniforms always scream American Airlines?
I just got done watching that 4-hour marathon game between Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. The only thing I can say is I'm glad it's over so I can go to bed.
This is Andrew from New Jersey, and I saw Rutgers attempt a field goal down 56-0, and it hit the upright.
This is week 5, and Notre Dame has already matched their win total from a year ago.
Notre Dame's 4-1. Sweet. Means Brian Kelly's going to be back for another year, probably.
Wisconsin sealing off Northwestern with a safety is the most Big Ten over the noon hour thing ever.
Turnovers are free at Arby's. BYU's paying. Oh my gosh, they're giving turnovers to everybody. It's the greatest thing ever. You get a pick six, you get a pick six.
You know, my girlfriend is not a college football fan at the slightest, but she just experienced a Tom Rinaldi tearjerker for the first time ever. Fantasy Things points for Ty.
Oh, goodness. Iowa just committed the blue moon of dumb plays they fielded a punt in the end zone. I mean, how often do you see that? Man, all these games are so boring. I'm resorting to watching UCF and Memphis. I mean, okay, you got me. I'm a Nebraska fan. I'm just scouting Scott Frost.
LOLSU.
I think it's time that we have to look out for LSU being secretly really bad.
The Trojans are winning in a game where Ed Orgeron is the head coach. My goodness, this is so weird.
LSU lost to Troy.
I just realized that we hired Ole Miss's failed head coach as our head coach, firing our most winningest coach in LSU history to do it. I think maybe we should not have done that.
Oh, hello there. This is Coach O. I'm calling the Solid Rebel to see if I still have a job. You know, the Ty and Dan know about the breaking news and stuff, so I didn't know whether I still have a job. But if you could call me back and let me know, that'd be great.
All right, there you go, Dan. A longer, but
my back is sore.
That was a longer segment, but thank you to everyone for calling in. 408-VERBAL-1, again, is the reverb line. It's always open on game weekends, and we'll talk about Coach O, and we'll talk about LSU and where that ship is headed, but let's go back in time, Dan. Friday night, 10:30, the late game. Washington State was at home. They were a 3.5-point home dog, I believe one of our home dogs of the week. And they were hosting USC. This is a big game for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was our boy Adam Amin calling the football game. Okay, so here's what we did, if you're just tuning in.
Let's start with us.
Let's start with us, the most important. We put this out into the podcastosphere very quietly. And we know that Adam claims to be one of us. We talked to him. You went shoe shopping with him. Seems like he's into what the verbal is doing, right?
Yes.
So he said, if you're into what we're doing, we need you to say the word beefy on the broadcast on Friday night. Here is Exhibit A.
We talked about Washington State's defensive line. They're not the beefiest guys, let's just call it that. But they are fast. And this dude, named after the son of Zeus, Hercules Mataafa, we'll tell you about his speed when you come back to Pullman.
All right, so I need to emphasize this. As somebody who's been doing broadcasting now for a decade,
yeah,
I hope folks out there realize that Adam Amin cleared the bar by 4 feet.
He did.
In his execution. He goes from beefy to Zeus to Hercules Mataafa to a commercial break all in one fell swoop.
That's true.
A total pros pro. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, if you freeze frame it, him jumping over the bar, he has a tropical drink with a swizzle straw. It's very casually clearing that bar.
See, the thing is now that we have an affirmative from Adam, how does this, do we need to start asking him to do illegal acts, right? That's how this works.
Yeah. We need him to somehow talk about stocks that we want to short on the show. We want to commit fraud, securities fraud, right? That's the next logical step for a college football podcast. I don't know what else you could be referring to. He also specifically had a dude alert for, I think, Cody O'Connell, the Washington State left tackle. I don't know if you have the audio of that, but that's not what we asked for at all. That was just above and beyond.
Oh my God. All right. 30-27. Thank you, Adam. That was fun. 30-27 was the final score in favor of Washington State. The two things that jumped out to me, Dan, Wazoo totally shut down Sam Darnold. And if you watch this game, I don't think you can come away thinking that Luke Falk wasn't 100% the better quarterback in this game. Maybe not overall, but in this game, he looked the part. He felt to me like the better of the two. And speaking of Washington State's defense and what they put Sam Darnold through, I saw a stat that on throws beyond 5 yards, Sam Darnold was 3 of 15 for 50 yards and an interception.
Yeah, I would argue that Wazoo and T. Martin did a really good job on Sam Darnold, USC offensive coordinator T. Martin. And it's hard to say, Luke Falk was definitively the better quarterback, but what Sam Darnold showed and what Luke Falk showed, because they're asked to do different things, it's hard to sort of compare them exactly. But yes, Luke Falk was more accurate.
In this limited sample size, Luke Falk looked better.
In big moments, he completed huge passes. He had command over his offense more so than Sam Darnold over his. I did a deep dive on the drive numbers, Ty. And first of all, USC, their average third down distance was 9.4 yards. That's not good enough.
That's hard, yeah.
Their first down production, they had 15 first down plays that went for 0, 1, 2, or negative yardage. That was over 50% of their first down plays did basically nothing, if not less than nothing. So USC was constantly behind the sticks, in large part due to a swarming Wazoo defense. Washington State, and we talked about this. Not only did we talk about this, Ty, but one of us, are we going to talk names? No. Locked this game up. Right?
That's correct. That is correct, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And something we both talked about, was Washington State and how they used Jamal Morrow against a USC team that has struggled with running backs this season. And Jamal Morrow was a stud both on the ground. He took a shovel pass. He was the biggest weapon that Wazoo had on offense, and it was pretty great to see. So Washington State is a Pacific Northwest team that beat a hyped USC team in the middle of the week, or a weeknight. Gosh, we haven't seen that we haven't seen it years, but it's a thing that we're familiar with. So awesome of Washington State. They look very good. USC has a number of questions, not the least of which is, what are they doing against the run, and what are they going to do moving forward to get Sam Darnold and this offense into a rhythm? Because it basically never happened. And Ty, did you see the USC interception inside the 5?
I did, yeah.
Did they turn that into a touchdown?
Nope.
They didn't. And did they lose by fewer points than a touchdown would have given them?
That I'm running the numbers, yes, but I believe that's accurate.
It's fair to say situationally USC was a disaster, and Washington State was just glimmering wonder.
Outside chance that we're talking about two undefeated teams in the Apple Cup, last game of the year, because Wazoo's at Oregon, at Cal, Colorado, at Arizona, Stanford, at Utah, Washington. Not like the easiest road to get there. However, Colorado's at home, Stanford's at home, Utah's a tough road tilt, but
Oregon will be without its starting quarterback.
Oregon without their starting quarterback, Cal kind of in a state of flux. I think it's doable, to say the least, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, a letdown spot in a difficult place to play is always dangerous because Oregon's defense has improved, but we've seen Wazoo beat Oregon without a starting quarterback recently, and it's not fun as an Oregon fan to watch. I would be most concerned about the Stanford and then going to Utah in early November before the Apple Cup. That's the stretch. That 2-week back-to-back would be my concern. Washington has such a beautiful schedule. It's a beautiful mind, a beautiful schedule. Washington has Oregon at home, UCLA at home. They're on the road at Stanford, which isn't a particularly difficult place to play. And They have Utah and Wazoo in consecutive weeks, but both at home. So there's a chance. I think I'd give it about a 31% chance.
Troy 24, LSU 21.
This is where you're going, Ty.
Where do you want to go next?
I mean, we had a huge game Saturday night, didn't we?
All right, fine.
Okay, let's do this. Come on, Ty. I like being right about my right games.
I didn't want to talk about this game, Dan.
Why? Because you picked against Clemson? Knowing what Clemson is?
Clemson 31, Virginia Tech 17, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
You are correct. I picked against Clemson here. You picked against Clemson earlier in the year, didn't you?
I know, and I learned from my very, very bad.
Everybody needs to pick against Clemson just once to experience
just
it.
To learn?
You know, it's right. It's a lot like being a first-time golfer because it's always, hey, this looks like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get out there and you're playing from 2 fairways over, dropping F-bombs.
Yeah, playing Clemson's like being very confident that you could handle a super hot pepper. In the end, even if you sort of handle it okay and respectably, you're going to lose. The pepper's going to win. Whether it's in your stomach, your intestines, or whatever happens after that, the ghost pepper always wins, Ty.
31-17, your final score here. Kelly Bryant, oh, man. First off, he could have watched the entire first season of Ozark with the time he had in the pocket.
Okay, good reference.
This was not an offensive explosion for Clemson, but Kelly Bryant looked really good when he had to. When he had to. He ran the ball very effectively. He made some big throws when he had to. Tech, I thought, did a good job keeping them contained, but it certainly wasn't enough to give them any kind of edge here because they could not get anything moving on offense. This really was a defensive showcase for Clemson. It took Virginia Tech until 6 minutes left in the second quarter to get the ball across the 50 for the first time.
Clemson did a fantastic job on defense because that is normal. That is just normal.
At this point,
Clemson.
Yeah, it's normal.
That's just a thing that we have come to expect because the talent level is so high, the coaching is so top-notch, and it gives the offense so much flexibility, whether it's field position, whether it's confidence to pull the trigger on a couple of ballsier plays because you know the defense is there to clean anything up if anything goes wrong. Kelly Bryant was good, if not particularly consistently excellent, but that's okay. He's a first-year starter, and there were moments when Virginia Tech sort of dropped back and said, okay, we're going to, with a very good defense, smother Deion Kane and Hunter Renfrow, Ray McLeod, whoever, and just sort of communicating. So did you have Tavian Feast or did you have Tavian?
Nope, no one had Tavian Feaster.
Nobody had Tavian Feaster. So it's one of those things. Take layups when the team gives you layups, and Kelly Bryant did it, and Tavian Feaster ran down the sideline for 60 yards or something. So Clemson made good decisions. Austin Bryant should haunt every single ACC quarterback for the rest of their lives with what he's able to do athletically. It was a fantastic performance from Clemson, and knowing you picked against Clemson, Ty, early on,
right,
when they jumped out to that 10-0 lead, did you have that thing we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
With oh, well, I should have. This is done.
Now I know, Now I know what it's like. Now I felt it. Now I experienced it. I've tasted my own blood. And I'm looking at the schedule. I am not picking against Clemson the rest of the way. Not against Florida State.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Florida State. Not against Florida State for sure. NC State could be interesting, I guess, but even still, that feels like a stretch to me with how effective this Clemson defense has been. It's shaping up to be potentially another rematch in the national championship.
Clemson combined to beat, both on the road, Louisville and Virginia Tech by a combined, if my math is correct, 40 points.
Yep.
Whew, pretty good.
All right. Where do you want to go next since you want to drive the ship here today?
I do want to drive this ship. We can go to the SEC, although I would go to, instead of LSU, Troy, which I don't think is a huge surprise. Maybe the final result is, but Troy's been pretty good and LSU has struggled on offense. I would actually go to Georgia, Tennessee, because I think that has bigger ramifications in the short and long term.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about 41-0 Georgia, we have to we have to play the boat racing sound.
Play all of your mean sounds, Ty. Play
I gotta
play Crockpot, play whatever you got.
I gotta distribute them evenly because we have a number of games that require these kinds of sounds. Let me give people some context, okay?
Yeah.
if you read the newsletter that I sent out on Friday, I went into some level of detail about how I personally pick games, what I'm looking at, some of the models that I just browse to try and figure out, okay, this team's about this many points better than their opponent. Most of these statistical models had Georgia at about a touchdown better than Tennessee.
Reasonable.
Right?
Yeah.
Georgia won by 41, Dan. 40 freaking 1. This game was over by halftime. The numbers for Tennessee are appallingly uncompetitive. 142 total yards, 4 turnovers, 7 first downs, 1 for 12 on third downs. Defensively, they gave up 294 Georgia yards rushing. I don't know what to say about Tennessee.
Tennessee is bad. And it's not a matter of they don't have bad players. They don't have a full collection of bad coaches on the coaching staff. They don't have bad history. They don't have a bad stadium. They don't necessarily have bad fans. Some of them might be bad. But Tennessee is not a competitive team. If they were just outclassed by Georgia, the score would have been something like, oh, they lost 31-13. They were never really in it. They put together a drive here, a drive there, and it wasn't really a difference-making game for Tennessee. They lost 41-0. At one point, I think at halftime, Quentin Dormady was completing passes, or his yards per attempt was something like 0.9. Not even 3 feet, not even a full yard. Tennessee, as they stand right now, are nothing at all to worry about in the SEC. And I can't imagine, I don't know what his buyout number is, and in 2017 and maybe 2016, maybe 2015, I don't remember when this shifted, I don't feel particularly good about saying a coach should be fired. And, he makes a lot of money, you don't feel bad, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not inside that building. What I can see is that Tennessee is a non-competitive football
team. It might be better for all parties involved if they just tried to change the landscape a little bit, right?
You would think so.
I think we're nearing that stage of the game. And of course, in Tennessee and in SEC land, it will all play out much more dramatically than it needs to. But at the end of the day, gosh, Tennessee might be young, and it might take them a little bit to recover from all of their losses from a year ago.
But they've recruited well.
And at some point, there's a big difference between trying to get our act together after losing a lot and trying to be competitive. There's a pretty big difference between those two things. And Tennessee might be more the latter than the former.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how long Butch Jones is going to be in Knoxville. What I do know is that things look very promising for Georgia. Yes. And you're right to say that they've been assisted maybe by playing some teams that aren't optimal competition. However, their defense has been outstanding. And you look at their schedule, there's only a handful of teams now that I think you look at and say that's a team that's at least capable of beating the Dogs.
Georgia's defense in particular, because Jake Fromm made plays. He wasn't the most efficient quarterback in Knoxville, but their defense, the Kirby Smart, Mel Tucker, whatever the defense is, they played like a bunch of kids who were told to come inside because it was getting too late, and then mom gave them an extra 15 minutes. We can keep playing, and they just look so happy to be playing college football defense. They look like 7-year-olds being told it's a snow day and they don't have to go to school and they can go sledding. What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Because 7 guys were tackling the ball at every turn. And so this Georgia defense, it's not a potential thing. It is special. And I cannot wait to see what they do. What their schedule in the East is not going to be all that impressive. So it's not like, I can't wait to see what they do against Florida. Can't wait to see what they do on the road against Auburn, and then hopefully the SEC championship game if we can get the best possible matchup. They're really, really good.
Moving on, Auburn 49, Mississippi State. This is my lock of the week, by the way. Mississippi State 10.
Guess who just got murdered?
We got an email from a listener by the name of Julie. Quote, hopefully after tonight you can start showing Auburn some more love. We get skipped over way too quickly every week. Here's what I'd say, Jules.
Jules.
We're on a first name basis here. I apologize if that's too informal. But
I'll do it.
Auburn was my lock of the week, was it not?
I don't remember, Ty. I forget all of this by Thursday morning.
It's hard to show more love than that.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk more about Auburn, but it's hard when they play teams like Mercer and Georgia Southern
and struggle a little bit against Mercer and struggle a little bit. Yeah.
Even worse, Missouri. It will get harder for Auburn as we go forward now through October into November. Georgia, Alabama, both still on the schedule. So I am excited to talk more Auburn football because this was a powerful performance for me last night. They had 7 plays of 30 or more yards. The defense played outstandingly well. Jared Stidham looked extremely comfortable back there. This is, I think, if you're an Auburn fan, what you've been waiting for because you knew the defense was there. What they didn't get last year was high-level quarterback play. And Jared Stidham, in coming over from Baylor, brought the prospect of just that. And it took him a few games to kind of get acclimated. And Clemson week 2 was certainly not the best proving ground for him. But now that we're a couple weeks in, now that we get to Mississippi State, okay, what can they do against Bulldogs team that knocked off LSU? Oh, they can win by 39 and look really impressive doing it offensively. That, to me, if I'm an Auburn fan, is extremely exciting. So, to me, Auburn is head and shoulders the number 3 team, let's say, in the SEC right now. They're very, very solid.
But that's where they're not 2, they're not 2.5. They're a solidly 3rd behind Georgia, is what you're saying.
At this point, I'd say yes. And we will, by the way, we will have a chance to see that game later in the year, Auburn, Georgia. We'll find out if Auburn should be 2 or stay at 3. I don't think there's any debate that they're number 3, though. They're certainly not 4.
Yeah, that's totally true. It was nice to see the offensive line keep evolving, opening up lanes for Kerryon Johnson, who I think is still a little bit beat up, but still looked good. Jarrett Stidham was protected, which makes a big difference. They were pushing the ball downfield a ton, which was good to see. Was it Eli Stove, as you like to say?
Yeah,
did a great job, Stove. No, Auburn, I thought the play calling was really good. They pulled away in the 4th quarter, but even when Mississippi State, be it off a turnover or whatever break they got, and they're in sort of the red zone, they're in Auburn territory, the defense for the Tigers just completely tightened up. They're vicious, they're swarming, they're very, very good, and still ahead of the offense, but the offense took a huge step forward, and Jarrett Stidham showed his potential. Do you have their schedule in the next 2-3 weeks? Do they have anybody that is particularly scary now that, well, not LSU, not Arkansas, not Ole Miss, maybe A&M. That's not till early November. So Auburn's in a good place right now. Cool to see.
At the risk of talking more SEC at the top of the show here, let's talk about Troy and LSU. We don't need to go into an alarming amount of detail here, but the final was 24-21. Troy goes on the road at night in Death Valley and pulls the upset. And as you mentioned at the top, right, Troy's pretty good. It's a pretty good football team. They've been building for a while, and it showed in this game. People shouldn't come away from this result thinking that they got lucky at all. This wasn't a game that they won on a trick play or because something dumb happened. They had a 17-point lead midway through the 4th quarter, and their line bullied LSU's defensive line. Jordan Chun for Troy, their running back, 31 carries, 191 yards, and a touchdown. That, to me, is significant. First and foremost, Troy didn't do this by some weird trickeration. They won. Straight up went out there, they won. Secondly, my question is, do we know when Matt Canada's start date is? Because they've really been struggling to establish that identity.
Oh, man.
0 for 8 on 3rd downs, 4 turnovers. Danny Etling banged up again. He was last week. He was again this week.
He was all right, but yeah.
Yeah, just not going well for LSU and this movement to try and establish an offense.
Yeah, no Darius Geis in this game, right?
Correct.
He did not play. And it's strange because you would consider this LSU team to have, a number of strengths. They returned what they returned on defense. They have offensive skill talent. Danny Etling is, not wonderful, but you would think an Ed Orgeron coach team, if nothing else, enthusiastic, into it, passionate, whatever, because they usually teams are a reflection of their coaches in whatever way. You see that from Clemson with Dabo Swinney, that they're just so into it. They're just always so jacked up. And this LSU team just didn't feel like, for whatever this means, an Ed Orgeron team.
No.
They just seemed sleepwalking. They seemed groggy. They just seemed like they didn't know what to do or how to feel. And I don't know if it's not getting up for Troy, which is dumb. Whatever it is, it didn't seem like a proper reflection of what we'd come to expect. You expect that excitement. You expect that level of passion. And just LSU didn't have it. It was just not there. And you can talk about the offense. They should be shutting down Troy on the ground. They should be moving the ball on the ground themselves. It was very strange to watch.
Ed Orgeron's buyout this season is a beefy $12 million.
Yeah, and that also probably includes Joe Oliva, the athletic director, who stapled his reputation to this hire and stomped his foot. So I don't think Ed Orgeron's getting fired.
I don't think he's getting fired either, but
he's not.
I also don't know that it gets a whole lot better because LSU hasn't even gotten to the real meat of their schedule yet.
No. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing where, USC flipped a switch when he was an interim guy. LSU last year, they seemed to flip a switch. Maybe there's some soul searching that needs to happen, but this LSU team is not a challenger to many right now.
All right. Pick a game that didn't take place in the SEC. We've been talking too much SEC here at the top.
Let's talk about... I'm trying to think what else. We can talk about Penn State, Indiana. We can go to the Big Ten.
Do you watch this game at all? Did you watch Penn State, Indiana?
I didn't watch a ton because it was 21-0 immediately, and I just figured it would be comfortable. It wasn't really until later on.
So the final score was 45-14. And I think to the untrained eye, you'd look at that and say, oh, wow, come on. They won by 31 points. Number 4 team in the country, playoffs, here we come. Penn State kind of looked secretly awful in this game. The offensive line in particular was just a disaster.
Saquon Barkley couldn't really get much going on the ground. Luckily, special teams threw a touchdown pass.
You know what I love about the way James Franklin is using Saquon now? He is using him the same way. You remember back in the old NCAA football days? He is using him the same way we'd use a star player back in the old video game day. Like, oh, wait, he's a 90 kick returner? Maybe he can return. Well. 45 throw power? He can definitely throw a touchdown with. That's what he's doing with him to try and win him the Heisman, and I'm kind of digging it, provided he doesn't get hurt.
So Trace McSorley connects later on in the game, but they don't really push the ball downfield early because they're up 21-0 off of the muffed punt and the kick return for a touchdown. So they're not really looking like the Penn State of old, to the point where Penn State is the defense ahead of the offense now? Is that the most reliable thing, even more so than Saquon excellence?
The defense has been overshadowed by Saquon Barkley, for sure.
Is that right? The defense has won now 2 weeks in a row.
It's probably more consistent than the offense at this point. Doesn't have quite as high of highs, but it's certainly there in terms of consistency.
Does yesterday worry you at all as somebody who pays particularly close attention to Penn State moving forward?
It worries me.
Not yesterday, but the past couple weeks.
Yeah, it worries me to the extent that they've got Northwestern on the road next week. And they gave Wisconsin a game this past week. I don't know. I feel like that could be an interesting matchup in week 6. Penn State on the road at Northwestern. So I'm a little worried.
Yeah, then they have the bye week. Then they get Michigan and Ohio State. Ohio State, I believe, on the road. So it's a little troubling. And I don't think there's any Big Ten power right now of those 4 teams. And we can talk about Ohio State minimally because they just beat down on Rutgers. Michigan had a bye week. And Wisconsin. They're led by their defense right now.
Yeah.
Penn State has the best offense or the best proven offense against good teams right now. But I don't think it's a conference of complete teams right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Wisconsin.
Complete top teams, yeah.
Yeah, Wisconsin 33, Northwestern 24. Wisconsin trailed 10-7 at half, and then they came out, scored 24 unanswered in the second half to pretty much put it away. Not the best offensive showing for them, and maybe a little bit more in line with what I expected from Wisconsin this season. But defensively, still very, very stout. And that will carry them through. They still have a very, very favorable schedule. I still expect them to go 11-1, 12-0 regular season before the Big Ten championship game.
It was also a situation with Wisconsin because I think they had a bye week before, or at least they hadn't played 4 games before. we went into this game thinking, oh, Wisconsin's really good. They're shutting down all these teams. But what did we really know about Wisconsin?
Exactly, right.
Northwestern is the clear best team at this point that they've played, which sort of says something. So we didn't fully know. And if what you are saying comes to pass and they go 11-1, 12-0, and even if they somehow win the Big Ten over whoever, Ohio State, in an ugly game, Alex Hornibrook throwing into like the Clemson defense,
yeah,
they're going to eat him alive.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
He throws far too many ducks.
All right.
He's the pop gun arm.
He is the
crave.
pop gun arm. Yeah, he is. Trace McSorley knows how to aim it, but Alex Hornibrook, man, whew. Okay.
Yeah.
Ohio State 56, Rutgers, big old goose egg. Do you have anything to add on this, Dan? I don't.
Nope, not at all.
Michigan State 17, Iowa 10. I'll mention this game only briefly because you thought LJ Scott would run or would be able to run on Iowa. And I thought Iowa was straight up the better team. And as it turns out, we both were wrong.
Both wrong.
Michigan State wins 17-10. This is another one of those Sudoku games that works out well, I think, for Notre Dame. Just leave it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Why can't Iowa run the ball?
I don't know. They have a good running back.
They've got a very good running back. They couldn't move, and Michigan State has improved defensively. They've at least gotten back towards where they should be. Nate Stanley is the clear best weapon of this offense. I like how he plays. He didn't have a great game against Sparty, but this game was very boring to watch.
Extremely boring to watch, yeah.
I think it was, 14-7 near the top of the second quarter, and then from that point on, 2 field goals.
I did fall asleep during this game. Literally fell asleep during the game.
But Michigan's 3-1. Michigan State, is 3-1. That was mean of me.
Already matched last year's win total. Okay. Maryland 31, Minnesota 24. A good game the whole way through. Ty Johnson had a late touchdown, trying to move up on the Ty power ratings, which I forgot to do last week, and we'll do when we do our Week 6 preview. He had 130 yards and a touchdown on the day. The big story, though, was, I think, Maryland's new quarterback, now their first stringer, formerly their third stringer.
Yeah, he wasn't particularly great, but he was fine. He was efficient.
Much more comfortable in this game.
He looked more comfortable, which, if Maryland can get competent quarterback play with Ty Johnson, who is, a big play waiting to happen, with decent enough receivers, we like DJ Moore, with a defense with more talent than it had 2-3 years ago, Maryland will make a bowl game again. Maryland will be fine. Maryland will continue to improve. And they just, please, can they keep a quarterback healthy? Begging you. But listen, if they're winning without it's Bortenschlager?
I'm going to change it each week. It is Bortenschlager. Last week it was Boringschlager. This week I went Goldschlager.
So with Bortenschlager, and now Oregon might... So it's Justin Herbert's out. We'll get to it. And then Taylor Alley, the former walk-on backup quarterback, got hurt last night. We might have a Bortenschlager and a Burmeister.
Woo!
Yes! It's all happening.
28-6, Nebraska wins over Illinois. That Manning Passing Academy really starting to pay dividends for Tanner Lee.
Listen, Ty, I have retired snarky commentary about Tanner Lee. Tanner Lee had a fine game. It was a good week for quarterbacks who did struggle in the month of September. Max Brown lit Rice up. Ty, it's about incremental improvement. Tanner Lee had a good game, and Nebraska comfortably won. So, huzzah.
We have a lot to get through. If you are looking for talent, though, perhaps you should look into ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
Because finding great talent can be tough. Just ask Oregon.
Just ask quarterback.
Just ask Maryland. If you're hiring, post your job to ZipRecruiter to find the best candidates. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with one single click. Then their powerful technology, it takes over. It efficiently matches the right people to your job better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. They're unlike all the others. ZipRecruiter, they don't depend on candidates finding you. No, Dan, it goes out and it finds them. In fact, 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within just 24 hours. No juggling emails, no calls to the office. All you got to do is screen, rate, and manage the candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all shapes and sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. Right now, if you're listening, you can post to ZipRecruiter for free. Let that sink in for a second. Free.
That's the price is right, Ty.
Freer than this podcast. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/solid. ZipRecruiter.com/solid. One more time. Try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/solid.
You know who the ultimate ZipRecruiter is, Ty? That'd be Terry Bowden.
Yeah.
Head coach, Akron Zips.
Boom.
They won. They're 1-0 in the MAC. They beat Bowling Green comfortably.
That was very smooth, Dan. Good job.
Thank you.
So look, we got a lot to get through here.
Where do you want to go?
We talked far too long about the SEC today.
You want to go to the Big 12?
Sure, there were only 3 games in the Big 12.
Yeah, but a big matchup. That was really fun. It came down to the wire. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Oklahoma State 41, Texas Tech 34. Good game here. Tough road win for Okie State. A lot of points, a lot of yards. It was interesting to me that Mason Rudolph accounted personally for all 5 touchdowns, 3 through the air, 2 on the ground. Texas Tech put up more of a fight in this game than I think I expected. And by the way, I did predict that Texas Tech would cover the point spread, so I thought all along they put up a fight, but I guess just kind of watching it gave me a different feel than I expected. I thought they actually looked pretty good.
Texas Tech continues to look pretty good. They've looked pretty good thus far. I like that you still call Oklahoma State Okie State above all the protests of Poke fans everywhere. I think that's just a subtle dig. I like that.
I didn't mean anything by it. Oklahoma State.
Did you not, though, Ty? Did you not?
I didn't.
Oklahoma State looked very good against a tough Texas Tech team who Red Raiders could not run the ball. They have been running relatively well. Justin Stockton was pretty much shut down by a good Oklahoma State front, and Justice Hill got it going on the ground, which I thought was probably the most important thing for Oklahoma State. Mason Rudolph had a very nice game, avoided about 73 sacks. Junkyard Jim got his, and Oklahoma State survived a double doink, which is very rare. 2 doinked field goals. Yeah. They still pull it out. Oklahoma State in good position to keep winning. They are 100% a probably top 12 team at this point, and their schedule is pretty fine moving forward next couple of weeks anyway.
Kansas State 33, Big 12 team from Waco 20. Mm-hmm. Are we at a point where we can start converting over from Big 12 team from Waco to their actual team name, or do they need a win first?
They probably need a win. Yeah. That's a personal decision we're going to have to make for ourselves. But beyond that, good game from Kansas State. They're going to ruin somebody's season.
K-State 33-20 gets the victory. Yes. And then on Thursday night, Texas won 17-7 over Iowa State in what I would argue was one of the more painful games to watch on a Thursday.
Oh, rough.
This was a great game to put yourself asleep to.
It was kind of fun early on. So Jacob Park to me he's an all-time quarterback. And when I say that, I don't mean he's an all-time great. I mean, he's somebody who, when playing intramurals, insists on being the all-time quarterback. With the band, so casually, no, I got this. No, I know I threw an interception. I got this. He threw some bad picks, but I love the confidence. I'm not going to lie, Ty. I love the Jacob Park confidence.
I love the hair.
Jacob Park. Hair's great. Texas defense is easily the best thing in this game. And you almost hope that they could string together some better offensive drives to match what they're doing on defense. But so be it. Shane Buechele, I think, is a little beat up, so hope he has a speedy recovery.
All right, let's go over to the ACC now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Miami-Duke. This was also a earlier game in that it was a Friday tilt. I was pretty high on Miami in this game. I like Miami a lot. 31-6 was the final. And they got off to a good start and then just leaned on their defense. That's what this came down to. Duke has been lousy in the red zone all year. Again, that was the case against Miami, as, again, a 25-point victory played out. The Canes looked really solid. They've got Florida State next week, which we could talk about Florida State next. Florida State has no offense right now.
No.
They have no offense right now. They're trying to figure it out with James Blackman.
Miami goes into this game next week, and we'll speak to it more. It's in Tallahassee, right?
Yeah.
It's in Tallahassee. First of all, Miami did a great job against Duke, especially against the pass. I liked Malik Rozier a lot. It was good to see Amon Richards back. And Miami has to clean up a little bit of their run defense, because if there is a place where Florida State may be able to take advantage offensively, even with as much as they've struggled with the freshman quarterback, We've got a good stable of running backs, and Duke was able to move the ball on the ground a little bit. So I like Miami a considerable amount right now, mostly because they don't have Clemson, right?
No.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love
that helps.
quality
That
about
always
Miami.
helps, yeah.
Their schedule is pretty great. They don't have Notre Dame until later on, so if they can maintain health, that should be a really fun matchup. Virginia Tech the week before. So November is going to be very fun across the board, but Miami is looking legitimately very good right now. Not fully tested, but it's what, let's see, look at their schedule so far. Yeah, not much there.
No,
not much there.
Not much there.
So Florida State will be a Sudoku game, I think, for Miami and a number of other teams.
Florida State 26, Wake 19. Wake is plucky. You were right. They're plucky. They're good on defense. The Wolford wagon was rolling a little better than I expected against Florida State. He looked really good.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. Florida State won the game. They very easily could have lost this one. Offensively, it, like I said, almost entirely reliant on the run game. James Blackman still very, very much learning.
Mm-hmm.
I am so underwhelmed by Florida State so far this season. And I understand that Francois got hurt. And obviously bringing in James Blackman is going to be a step back. But to me, it feels like it's been so underwhelming that I question how good I thought they would be even if they had DeAndre Francois.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely correct.
I thought last week maybe was a situation where there was just rust that they're shaking off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw this game, and there were plenty of instances on defense where they just got beat. I just expected more from them defensively. I thought they would shut teams down to a greater degree. That has not happened so far.
Yeah, defensively, Florida State has gotten both sides of the ball pretty predictable, a little bit stale. Maybe time to refresh a little bit of that coaching staff. I don't know if that's the issue. Whatever the issue may be, Florida State is struggling in a number of places. And let me preface, Ty, sometimes people say, we really like the show. You make a lot of like inside joke references to things. Is there a repository for the vocabulary you use? A Sudoku game is a game like when you're doing one of those Sudoku puzzles and you get a 4 or a 7 or a 3 and it sort of opens up the board a little bit and you learn a little bit about, the directions you're going. It's a really good sign for Wake Forest that even without, it's Mike Elko.
Yeah.
This defense has not slowed down at all, which is a testament to how prepared they were last year, how prepared they are this year. Wake is legitimately pretty good.
Yeah.
Which is a very difficult thing to do.
I would agree with that.
To keep Wake pretty good. Especially last year, other teams were getting their playbook ahead of time, their game plan. So Wake was in a perfect position to win this game. They dropped a Hail Mary type pass at the end of the game against Florida State. The bigger national question is what's wrong with Florida State and how does it get fixed? But my takeaway from this is it's above pluckiness to me. The ACC is deep with pretty good at bare minimum.
All right. Let's talk about Notre Dame here since they're sort of a member of the ACC. Yeah. 52-17 over Miami of Ohio, 333 yards on the ground for Notre Dame. 8 carries, 159 for Josh Adams. Again, we can agree to disagree. A questionable passing performance by one Brandon Wimbush.
I did not watch a second of this game, Ty, but his line doesn't seem fantastic. I think he hit on a couple of longer passes. I watched the highlights.
Questionable passing performance.
What is questionable to you let me load up Notre Dame's next few weeks.
It gets tougher.
Well, yes, it's North Carolina, which does not. North Carolina, by the way, is missing like 16 starters.
Yeah.
They should very easily beat North Carolina, but they have USC's defense, NC State's defense, Wake's defense, and Miami's defense. And it doesn't appear like they have a bye week between any of those games. In 4 consecutive weeks, they have, at the very least, good defenses to maybe very good defenses. Where do you think Brandon Wimbush is limited against teams of that nature?
Eventually, a team is going to double down on the run, kind of like Georgia did, because they play defenses that are good enough to do that. And when teams do that, that's going to mean he has to pass. And on some level, you can't throw the screen passes and expect them all to work. So you got to look down the field. Looking down the field longer than 10 yards has been a problem for Wimbush. He holds onto the ball too long. He double clutches. I'm not an X's and O's expert to know what kind of schemes they're running down the field, but it seems to me like it's a combination of him either holding on to the ball too long or receivers just not being able to get open.
Okay.
So maybe it's not all on him. Maybe it's shared responsibility between what he's doing in the pocket, what receivers are doing out down the field, and what kind of plays Chip Long is calling. I simply don't know. But some combination of those three things could very easily get them against some of these better defenses. Not a doubt in my mind.
Rank the likelihood of losing amongst those four teams: USC, North Carolina State, Wake, and then on the road against Miami.
USC, I think,
likely
has to be the most likely.
Okay.
Miami is up there. We don't know enough about Miami, but Miami's still got a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
On the road. NC State's a team to me that could very easily beat Notre Dame. They're balanced enough. And then Wake, Wake's, I think, a little bit more limited offensively, but they've got defense and they are playing well at quarterback.
True. And they know Mike Elko's tendencies, perhaps?
Probably in that order.
Any of those teams could beat Notre Dame. I don't see the likelihood of Wake, but it's with how they played yesterday, and their defense should be good enough to force an offense to be one-dimensional in whatever way they want.
Georgia Tech 33, UNC 7. It's not looking good for North Carolina, as you mentioned. They're now 1-4. They've got Notre Dame next week. Then Virginia Tech, Miami. Not looking good for their bowl chances.
Georgia Tech's 3-1.
Yeah.
Schedule's about to get way harder, but they're lurking around.
NC State 33, Syracuse 25, Louisville 55, Murray State 10, Pitt 42, Rice 10, Boston College 28-8 over Central Michigan. Anything to add?
No, Max Brown back in the starting lineup basically had a perfect game against Rice, which it's against Rice, but hey, good for Max Brown.
Let's move to the Pac-12.
Let's.
UCLA 27, Colorado 23. How much of this game did you watch?
Very little.
There's a very real moment in this game in the second quarter where Rod Gilmore pretty much took a gas can to UCLA's entire defense. Just overtly frustrated with how poorly they were playing. In the end, didn't actually play that bad. All things being equal. When they weren't committing dumb penalties, they were fine. They win. At long last, they win. They end the 2-game losing streak. They maintained a thin lead all throughout the second half. Josh Rosen played pretty well. Still shows flashes of dumb decision making, but all in all, 372, a touchdown. They win the game at home, 27-23.
I love watching good Josh Rosen throw balls. It's a thing of beauty when he is confident, and his footwork is light years above pretty much anybody's other than, even Baker Mayfield. Like, his footwork is a beauty to behold when he is good Josh Rosen. And he was for much of this game. And our very scientific analysis going in, I don't know if you liked Colorado or UCLA, but at least my very scientific analysis was UCLA's got to win one of these, right?
Yeah.
And I only saw this game in sort of highlights. This was a late kick, but UCLA offensively looks like they've been good all season offensively, but they got enough in the way of stops defensively against Colorado, and Steven Montez is not what Seifa Lufau was last year when he was very briefly healthy. I don't know what week to week, all we can expect from this UCLA team is Josh Rosen trying to drag the carcass of this UCLA defense across the finish line. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
27-23. They get the victory.
Huge game from Jordan Lastly, too. He's been very good.
Finding a dress shirt can be hard, Dan.
Oh, the most difficult.
Thankfully, ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier with Proper Cloth. At propercloth.com, you can easily create a custom shirt size in mere seconds. All you gotta do is answer 10 simple questions. You can choose from 20 collar styles, 10 cuff styles, 500 fabric styles, classic, business, whatever mood you're in, whatever fashion style suits you best. You can completely customize a shirt and get the exact style that you want. The team over at Proper Cloth, they work with all the best fabric producers from around the world. They only buy fabrics that meet their high quality expectations. Each one of their shirts goes through extensive quality control testing. You only get the absolute best quality and craftsmanship. And best of all, they guarantee a perfect fit. So if they send you something, if it doesn't fit, you send it back. They'll remake it for free. This is the future of shirts. It really is. They can make a custom shirt for you starting at just $80. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Start looking your best with a custom fitted shirt. Go to propercloth.com/solid today. Enter the gift code SOLID. Save $20 on your first shirt.
We should also mention, Ty, just because we were talking about the UCLA Colorado game, Spencer Hall has been pointing this out, and we've all been watching ESPN and Rod Gilmore and college football games for years, but there is something very earnest about Rod Gilmore being surprised by how wacky things get in the Pac-12. There is something like he's even surprised by like almost trick plays. Like UCLA will run a reverse, be like, "What the hell was that?" They were going one way and they went the other. It's pretty great.
He was openly anguished by watching that UCLA defense.
Yes.
And I think he was quarter.
Yes. Oh, it's whenever things go to extremes, he was like, why are they just tackling something? This doesn't make sense. He did the Boise Wazoo game, I believe, that got super weird, and he was huffing and puffing. It was great.
Oregon 45, Cal 24, Dan.
Yeah.
So Oregon won, and I use air quotes here.
Yeah.
And they covered the spread. Yay.
It was a loss win.
What happened with the injuries?
Oh, what didn't happen with the injuries? So early on, Royce Freeman left, which is not the biggest deal because they have a number of good running backs and they recruited well. They've got 2 or 3 freshman running backs that could come in. Justin Herbert got hurt running in a touchdown. He got hit at the goal line and sort of outstretched and scored the touchdown, but didn't play after that, was taken to the locker room. And Andrew... I always forget how to pronounce his last name, but the Oregonians beat writer, Andrew Grafe, I think it's Grafe, reportedly overheard that Justin Herbert broke his collarbone, which is not great, which is, I would assume, a minimum 6 weeks, if that's the story. And so he left late in the first quarter. Taylor Alley, who has played a bit, came in, former walk-on, severely limited during games in terms of throwing the ball. He got hurt, and I guess the true freshman Braxton Burmeister, who's a smaller guy, came in. But the good news is this. Even amongst a crazy amount of penalties, once again, Oregon's probably leading the country in penalties. I think they had 10 or 11 penalties against Cal. Oregon's defense went from being 2 years ago, they're very bad, to last year, they're like extraordinarily, disappointingly awful bad, to this year being, okay. To now being, okay.
All right.
They're pretty good. Oregon and Jim Leavitt have been swarming the ball. I think they allowed 8, including sacks, 8 rushing yards against an okay Cal team. And they won a game that they probably would have lost in previous years without an actual throwing threat. So they ran the ball well. They played good defense. The schedule's about to get much harder. I don't know what this offense is going to look like with somebody who can't throw the ball forward. So Oregon's sort of a rich man's Maryland right now. And that's not how you want to talk about your football team. They have Wazoo at home, Stanford, UCLA, Utah, Washington in what appears to be consecutive weeks.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
If Oregon can go 6-6, 7-5, they've won 4. They've equaled their win total from last year. If they can go 6-6, 7-5, I don't see any way that they can get 4 out of these last 7 to get to 8 wins, but 7-5 without a quarterback, finishing strong against Arizona and Oregon State, and maybe stealing one of those against Utah or UCLA, which I highly doubt at this point, is a totally successful season, Ty.
All right. Fair enough.
It's trouble, though. But Jim Leavitt and that defense, total stars.
They're better,
yes.
Sure. Stanford 34, ASU 24. Only bullet here is that Bryce Leavitt 301 yards on the ground.
That's quite the bullet, Ty.
Yeah.
And KJ Costello started this game and was once again good. Stanford got good quarterback play. Bryce Love gave them beyond excellent running back play. I don't think they have much in the way of, threatening pass catchers, but this is Stanford. They start super slowly. They get better and better over the course of the year. I'm still worried about this defense, especially since Manny Wilkins was able to move the ball a good amount. But Stanford is pretty good, and I don't know how good they can be, but impressive.
Washington 42, Oregon State 7. Oh. Here's where I point out that Washington has quietly been hiding in the heat signature of USC for about 5 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule, as you mentioned earlier, is jet puffed until November. It sets up extremely well for the Huskies to have a repeat run to the Pac-12 championship. All they need to do is just keep doing what they're doing, Dan.
Yeah.
This is a good team.
Another slow start for Washington. I think it was 7-0 at halftime.
Right.
But then they ripped off, 35 unanswered. And it's almost as if at halftime, Chris Peterson receives a fax with oh, okay, we're good. We're good. That's an old-timey reference, Ty, a fax machine.
Right.
Or he gets a text who's like, yeah, this is what Oregon State's doing. Oh, all right. And then they just rip off a bunch of points. So Washington, as you mentioned, they're in a great place. They should, if Washington doesn't win double-digit games, it means there are craters hitting Seattle at a crazy rate.
The big earthquake that everyone's talked about on the West Coast.
Yeah, I guess craters can't hit something. Meteors.
Right. Creating the crater. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. And then let's bookend this show by going back to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about Alabama 66.
Oh, no.
Ole Miss 3.
Stop! He's already dead.
We had an email from Josh who writes in, quote, seeing the score of an Alabama game after a day of watching college football is like being forced to face your own mortality. Mm-hmm. I knew how this all was going to end, but I still don't enjoy being reminded of it. That, my friends, about as good an analogy as you're going to have.
Yeah, they're so unfairly good on both sides of the ball, and they're stomping, Ty. And I don't know if it's Clemson and Alabama stomping towards each other once again, but Alabama is just casually driving down a street, and every SEC school, or most of their schedule, they're just mailboxes, and Nick Saban's just picking one off after the other, just
with a baseball bat, just a barbed wire baseball bat, just knocking them over.
They're just just so casually doing it, and they're pulling starters by halftime. They're up 35-3. Tua Tagovailoa came in and threw a bunch, and they're just not only do they recruit deep, Ty, but everybody is getting reps. They're going 40 deep. That's not cool at all.
It does look like Deshaun Hand strained his MCL.
Yeah, hate to see that.
All right. Florida 38, Vandy 24. Another collarbone injury.
Ugh, Luke Del Rio.
Luke Del Rio came in, out for the year now, with a broken collarbone. Felipe Franks came in, actually looked pretty good, went 10 of 14. Malik Davis had a good game for Florida on the ground. Defense was superb in this game. More points against a Vanderbilt defense than I expected. 38-24 was your final. Just another stop on this quarterback train. A revolving door almost in perpetuity for Jim McElwain down there in Gainesville. But they do win. They do score 38 points. They keep finding ways to get W's here, Dan, which is impressive in its own right. But, man.
And Tyree Cleveland also, I think, hurt his ankle. Yeah, Florida's all right. I don't particularly enjoy watching them, but Felipe Franks throws a nice deep ball. And I was talking to our pal Richard Johnson earlier. If a team, say Georgia or anybody with the defense, forces Florida into the same thing you're worried about with Brandon Wimbush, an intermediate passing game, it becomes trouble.
All right. 24-17, Texas A&M beats South Carolina. This was a good football game. Keith Ford had 70 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That is what gave A&M the lift that they needed to win this game at home. I thought both quarterbacks looked pretty good in this game.
Yeah, I thought Bentley looked a little bit better, but Mond has the ground game that gives them a dynamic weapon that very few teams have.
I think A&M's going in the right direction now. It started off a little sideways, but it seems to me like Kevin Sumlin's got something going. positive momentum. The only problem is that it's about to get really hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, Texas A&M.
Really hard. They've got Alabama coming up this week, which is not a great way to continue that momentum. And then it gets harder, you know?
Yeah. They have Florida, Mississippi State, Auburn. Yeah, having Auburn and Alabama in a month, not the greatest.
Not ideal, no.
It just seems that A&M, they're off to a 4-1 start. They should be 5-0. They should have been able to close out that UCLA game, but they didn't. 4-1, and things are more and more positive. They beat Arkansas in overtime, which you should probably beat Arkansas in regulation. Every year we see it. They win a bunch of games. They play Alabama. It all goes haywire.
Yeah.
It just all does. So A&M's 4-1. They feel like a 7-5, 6-6 team right now.
Arkansas, Kentucky, both of those teams win. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that San Diego State remained undefeated.
Yep.
They won by 6 at home to move to 5-0 now. And USF, very quietly pounding teams. This time they win by 30 and making a case to be the best team, the second best team in the state of Florida.
USF, Miami is playing at the highest level right now. USF against Florida State or Florida, I'd probably still take at least one of those teams.
Making a case, though. Making a case.
Sure, absolutely. Especially since their defense has improved greatly. They were good a couple years ago under Tom Allen. They struggled a little bit last year. That USF-UCF, and UCF beats Memphis comfortably. That game ends the year. That's going to be super fun, Ty.
Yeah.
That's going to be very fun. Other games we didn't mention or didn't go into detail about. I don't know if there's anything particularly huge. Army moves to 3-2, beating up a very bad UTEP team. Navy's 4-0.
Yeah,
past Navy
saw
time.
that. Yep.
Don't you dare.
I never
Navy.
do.
Josh Allen finally had a good game for Wyoming. And most importantly to me, Ty, did you see the Lafayette Holy Cross score? Did you see the Leopards get in the win column?
I saw it.
Pretty good. God, the Yaleys killed Fordham. Oof. Drop that dude alert sound.
Give me some dudes. Give me some dudes.
All right, quickly. Austin Bryant, of course, Clemson star defensive end, had a ridiculous interception. Irvin Phillips had a great day through the air, catched. That's where I'm at. Caught a lot of balls for Syracuse. Levi Wallace, former walk-on, is now starting for Alabama at corner because life is good in Tuscaloosa. Bryce Love, Stanford. Adam Amin, ESPN, has to get a dude alert. Must, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Whoever is the administrator for Troy's Twitter account, savagery. After they beat LSU. Thanks for inviting us to homecoming. By the way, Troy got paid like $1 million to beat LSU. Whoops. Jordan Chun, who you mentioned also in that game, the running back for Troy. Jaleel Scott, go Aggies, New Mexico State receiver. Great day. Malcolm Williams from Coastal Carolina had a good receiving day. Amon Richards, who we mentioned, the star receiver for Miami. And you know what, Ty? Since I'm awarding these, the Oregon defense.
Yeah.
Bunch of dudes. Those are your dude alerts.
All right. Very good. We did start receiving word that people are receiving their Solid Verbal t-shirts.
Shirts trickling out.
Shirts are trickling out. So you should be getting them hopefully this week. If there are any issues, let us know. But otherwise, please do send us pictures of yourself wearing the shirts out in the wild so we can use them in the newsletter, on the Facebook page, and Twitter account, Instagram, all those fun places. That would be most ideal. We're excited to see what everyone thinks of the shirts and to have them out there in the college football ether. Thank you for your support.
Yes. And on that note, thank you to everybody who shares the show, be it on Facebook or Twitter, or drops us a 5-star review on iTunes. Those are legitimately excellent and very helpful. People like Daniel Powell, Matt Ambrosiak, Ryan Winkle, Cody Lewis. I love this name that I'm about to say, Ty. Bill Laviolette.
Whoa! Okay.
Bill Laviolette.
Likes himself a good Chardonnay.
Absolutely. Brian Morella, Sarah Allen Tubner, Justin Stockton, Meredith Taylor, Zachary Jefferson, Holly Spreeman, Will Reedman, Donald Seller, a.k.a. I believe he's the Coffin Hunter.
Yes.
Ken, the Astro Bull, Brendan Fanning, and of course, Ty. We ride! We ride! Brandon McKissick. Absolutely, we do.
All right. Fun show.
Yeah.
Fun show. Week 6 is going to be nuts.
I think it's going to
nuts.
get weird. Yeah.
there are a lot of good games next week. So on Wednesday, come right back here. Free download. Listen to our preview. I need to start going through that list this afternoon already. That's going to be a big list of games to talk about next week, so I'm excited.
I'm already ready, Ty.
All right. For that guy over there, Dan
good.
Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildebrandt here in good old Allentown. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for calling. We'll catch you all on Wednesday. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.